The road. Speaking of the Buckeyes, they're right behind at 5. They have a matchup with number 3 Michigan State in a couple of weeks. The big lightning rod, of course, was Cincinnati at number 6. They are number 2 in the AP poll and the coaches poll. And so Heather is there in Grapevine, Texas, where all this went down yesterday. And Paul joins us this morning as well, and obviously Robert, who covers college football for us. But Heather, as we look at it last night, what was the big story for the fans who were not paying close attention yesterday? What was the most important thing that came out of these first rankings?
All other teams.
Another snub for Cincinnati, undefeated, and it didn't matter. The win against Notre Dame was not enough. And when you look at the strength of schedule, they went into the ranking number 100th in the country. This is a hole, Greeny, that Cincinnati probably isn't going to climb out of, because when you look at what they have down the stretch, it's nothing in terms of strength of schedule. SMU wasn't ranked by the committee last night. Houston wasn't ranked. That's a problem. So is the fact that the teams ranked behind them, Michigan and Oklahoma, both have better opportunities down the stretch to impress the selection committee and leapfrog Cincinnati in the end.
Yeah, to the point, they're not going to dig out of the hole. The hole's going to have to disappear, right, Paul? I mean, like, everyone in front of them and everyone around them is going to have to lose a bunch of games for Cincinnati to have any chance. Is that right?
That's right, Greeny, and the problem is this November. There aren't that many opportunities for carnage. There are some, and yeah, I could come up with a path to get Cincinnati in. They're not that far back, but even beyond the ranking, it was really what the committee chairman, Gary Barta, had to say. He said all the usual things, they're great and all that, but he also found fault with them, and he asked, who have they beaten other than Notre Dame? And the answer is nobody. And the fact that the committee propped up some of Alabama's opponents, like Mississippi State, who had 3 losses, really makes Cincinnati's path even more difficult. And all the teeth gnashing and all the crying and all the politicking is not going to help them at all.
Robert, what do you think of it?
Heather, Paul, Greeny. They never, they always say never go full rant, but I might have to go full rant right here. Cincinnati not being in the top 4 is a clear sign from the committee that Group of 5 schools have absolutely no chance to make the college football playoff in its current structure, right? No chance. Boys to men, end of the road type stuff here. And then the fact that Oklahoma is sitting there at number 8 as a undefeated, if the season ended today, they'd be an undefeated Big 12 champion, which is a Power 5 conference, and they're at 8. Don't even get me started on Wake Forest being at number 9 and the ACC being undefeated. And in the SEC, it's like, this is not the SEC college football playoff, but there's 7 SEC schools in the top 25. It's just very frustrating, and you're telling the Houstons, the Louisianas, the SMUs, the Cincinnatis of the world that not only are they not invited to the dinner table, they can't even park the cars out front. They might as well go ahead and get the process of changing this structure right away.
What do you think, Paul?
Well, it was a beautiful speech, Robert, but you have to remember something. This is just the first. This is the first of the polls, and things can change. And you mentioned Wake Forest; they play in a subpar league. You mentioned Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a path. If Oklahoma wins the rest of the games, I think they're going to get in because they have important games, and they also have championships to play for. And that's really what this committee always says, and I'll let Heather finish this thought because she's better at it than I am. On the final day, when you have a championship, it matters to this committee. Right now, nobody has a championship.
Heather, go ahead.
Right.
Well, he's right. It does matter, and it's hard to evaluate these teams in a vacuum without knowing how that plays out. But to that point, talk about Oregon and Ohio State. The Ducks and having that head-to-head matters now, but Ohio State down the stretch with the potential to play 2 top 10 teams in Michigan State and Michigan could leapfrog Oregon in the end. And Greeny, I wanted to mention, to Robert's point about not getting into this system, I'm in Grapevine now. I'm hopping over to Dallas in a couple of hours where the management committee is going to talk about a 12-team format more today and tomorrow. So Mike Oresco is in the same building as the CFP. That's where the American Athletic Conference is located. So I think that there might be some interesting conversations going on just close to here later on today.
Okay. Julian is our producer today. Set aside much more time for this in our second hour. Guys, come back because there's a million more things that we need to get to, and we will as we continue.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.